Perfect Gentleman Podcast, what's going on? This is Brian coming to you from my home office. Obviously, there's a heavy watch decor theme back behind me, and I hope you guys are enjoying the content so far. Thank you guys so much to anybody that's following along, and I hope you guys enjoy. Do a kind of walkthrough video of my watch collection since I've got it right behind me here. And we're going to start with the Quartz box and the handful of watches that I have that are kind of left over from my OGs, some of the fashion watches and some of the couple of funny pieces that I've hung on to. And then we'll get into a couple of the more heavy hitter pieces that I've got in my collection and some of the ones that I'm a little bit more proud to go through. So starting off with one watch that I think every kid should have at least some point in time in their life, the Casio calculator watch. This watch is just hilarious. It was $23 on eBay. Got it in the army green with the black hardware, black screen. It actually is pretty impossible to read unless you're in broad daylight. It's not a very bright or backlit well watch. The calculator functions all work, so that's fantastic. But either way, this is just a conversation piece and kind of a joke that I like to run with. So moving on, we've got a couple more Casios here in my Find the Good branded watch box. Love Find the Good brand. You'll see that I rock their hoodies and stuff like that. That was a brand that reached out to me the first time that I ever posted anything about getting sober in life. And so definitely check out their stuff. Good quality hoodies, good messaging, and definitely it's just, find the good, man. It's everywhere. But moving on to the next watch, you have the Casio G-Shoch Glide in bright red. This is a watch that was gifted to me by one of my best friends, a guy I've known for like 38 years. We've traded a couple of G-Shochs back and forth, but this was one that I absolutely love. It's been one of the OGs in my collection. I think I've had this thing for going on a decade now. Still works perfectly. These things last forever, just like most G-Shochs do. Speaking of which, we'll move on to my second G-Shoch. So this is going to be one of the newer series, so I got it in the kind of rose gold and gray colorway. I like a neutral color tone. I had the green watch, same version of this. Really liked that watch, but this one kind of spoke a little bit more to me just because I was wearing a lot of grays at the time, and this just seemed like a cool fit. So I gifted the other one to a buddy, and now I have this one. And this is definitely more of a daily wear piece when I'm working in the restaurant business still. I still wait tables a handful of days a week, and this is something that looks sharp enough to where I look like I'm well put together, but also I can beat the crap out of this thing in the restaurant, get it covered in ungodly things, and it still runs like an absolute champ. So love this watch. So two of the older watches that I have, and if they were worth anything to sell, I might get rid of them, but the fact that I still have this Michael Kors watch, and I've got it on a canvas strap, khaki color here, so that's aftermarket, but the fact that this watch still tells time, still looks halfway decent, even though it is gargantuan at 44 millimeters. The chronograph system never worked really well, but this was a pilot style watch that I loved, and I spent way too much money on because it's fashion, and I bought it at Macy's new. But I do have to say, it's a halfway decent looking watch, and you could pick these up for like 40 or 50 bucks, probably on Facebook Marketplace somewhere. So for that being said, if you are not looking to ever spend a lot of money on a watch, and you can pick one of these up secondhand on Facebook Marketplace, it's a halfway decent looking piece. My entry to learning about watches the second time around, brand Sturhling original. Can't remember which one of the resale sites I found it on, but this was new, still had stickers on it, brand new when I bought it, and this is kind of their Breitling knockoff. So you can obviously tell based on the bezel, the center link being polished on the bracelet, the tachometer around the bezel, or around the inner bezel. Just the total layout of this just absolutely screams Navitimer, and so I thought this was great before I really knew about what Breitling really was. And for $100 brand new, this was solid, I thought. And I still wear this thing every once in a while just to remind myself of kind of like how far I've come in collecting watches. And so yeah, this will probably never leave my collection as long as it still runs. And just like the Michael Kors, the chronograph function never really worked proper. That's what happens when you buy a $100 watch. The date doesn't keep at all, but the time is right. So for something that I can throw on my wrist and absolutely beat the crap out of and have absolutely no worry, this is a solid piece. All right, moving on to a couple of my heavy hitters. So we'll start with our local brand, Monta. So Monta is a St. Louis owned brand. I've met the owners a handful of times, luckily in an old affiliation. But this is the OceanKing version 1 no date with a gilt dial. So it's got the gold inlaid on the dial there. And this watch has been with me now since early 2022. I got this watch for just under $1,000 off of a Facebook Marketplace find, and when I actually met the owner Justin through a random chance at the country club that I was working at, I actually found out this was one of only, I believe, 45 or 50 of these made. And so this will absolutely never leave my collection. I can't wait to get one of their upgraded bracelets because mine is absolutely beat to crap. This has been my daily wear watch for the better part of going on 2 years now. So I'm working in restaurants. It definitely, thank God that it is waterproof. Bezel has a couple of nicks out of it, but you know, with watches that you actually wear, it kind of shows the love on it. So glad that this watch will probably forever be in my collection, unless something damages it beyond repair. Next is my Monta with the olive dial. It is their Triumph. So this is their field watch. This is a field watch. Yeah, I couldn't think of that word properly, but I've got it off the bracelet. I've got it on a olive suede aftermarket strap here. And this watch goes with virtually everything that I wear. This is a perfect, a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more relaxed. If I'm not working on a day, this is probably what I'm wearing as a daily wear. If I'm just rocking, you know, sweatpants, I'm hanging around the house, running errands, stuff like that. If I don't feel like having the metal band on and I want to rock something that's leather, this is my main go-to. But bought this watch again through a Facebook group and absolutely love it. And you know, this watch is, again, it's one of their version 1s. This one wasn't on a limited production or anything, I believe, but absolutely stunning. And because it's one of the OGs from Monta, this will probably never leave my collection. Next, moving down the list is going to be my Longines Automatic GMT. So this is one of their old Conquest lines from a couple of years ago. I actually got this on Chrono24 from a Japanese seller. So I did have to pay the import fees for it, and I've got it on a aftermarket Longines strap. So similar strap that comes on the regular Conquest dive watches. Love that it has the curved end. Now, this watch is not very waterproof. So given my field of day-to-day business, this watch does not get nearly as much wear as it should. But this watch is probably one of the most comfortable watches that I own. Absolutely love the blue sunray dial. Not sure if in the lighting here you can really catch it too much, but the sunray dial with the red GMT hand and the 12 and 6 giving it that kind of Rolex Explorer feel to it. This was a watch that I saw, and even though it was an older model, it was a discontinued model, one that was never going to be brought back probably. This was one that I even saw somebody had done a pop art piece for it, and I had that saved on my phone until I got the watch. And then, yeah, this watch, absolutely love it. Super comfortable on the rubber strap, but highly recommend Longines, heritage brand that has a absolute ton of heavy hitters. So, watch shops, just to verify that all the parts and all the inner workings are a Hamilton movement. Moving on, as you can tell, the situation has changed. Files got corrupted, had to reshoot a couple of watches. As you can tell, the background has sort of changed around a little bit. I'm obviously not dressed the same, so we'll just acknowledge that right off the start. But anyways, getting back into the collection. So the next watch we're going to move on to is one of my mistake watches. So this is a Franken watch, meaning this is not a real Hamilton. This is a case from I believe it's the Khaki Aviation. I want to say it was mid-2010s sometime when this model was released. The crown is authentic. The coin edge bezel is authentic. And as we take it off the pillow here, Hamilton clasp, Hamilton strap. If you look at the back of this, you can see has the Hamilton rotor, but if you take this watch apart, the movement itself is not 100% made by Hamilton. And also, these watches were never made with an open case back, so that has been modified as well. I don't wear this watch a whole lot because it is a Franken watch. Not really. That's not really the big reason why I don't wear this watch. This watch has a really, really long lug-to-lug width, and these are very, very pointy. So depending on what I'm doing that day, if I'm just hanging around the house and I want to wear this, or if I'm out just running errands by myself where I don't really care what's on my wrist too much, then I might rock this. But this was a watch that I don't have the heart to sell. It is absolutely gorgeous. I love the salmon dial. This watch was also never made with a salmon dial. It keeps great time. I've had it serviced, and other than needing to clean up the watch a little bit, it runs in great shape. It's a great piece. So I don't think I will ever probably get rid of this unless one of my friends wants it for some reason and I maybe trade it for something. But this is one of those watches where it probably, because it's not worth very much, I paid about $250 for that watch, which obviously, if you know anything about watches, $250 for a Hamilton a couple of years ago wasn't out of pocket for as low as they were going on the secondary market. But it definitely was not one that I shouldn't have fallen for that. We'll just leave that at that. But moving on to my next watch. This is one of my most worn watches from this past year. This is the tissotprx Chronograph. I have it on the PRX bracelet. It is getting a little bit beat up as this watch is coming on about a year and a half, going on 2 years old now. I do wear this watch at least a couple days a week. So in the restaurant, this bracelet is going to get beaten up. Love the open case back. One gripe about this watch, and it may just be my model. I don't know if anybody else has experienced this, but the tachometer is not always, it's hit or miss. It will run for a couple of seconds and then stop. And then if I stop and start it, it'll keep back and it'll, tick accurately from there. But there's always that little hiccup. So I don't know whether maybe that's just my watch. But either way, this watch gets a ton of wear. I love this Panda configuration with the blue subdials and the white opaline silver main dial, blue writing. Absolutely love this watch. Picked this up pretty much as soon as this colorway got released. I had it ordered. And moving on to the most complicated watch that I currently own, and that is my Oris Rectangular Complications MoonPhase, I believe is the full name or title of this watch. Right now I've got it on a aftermarket custom strap with the Oris logo. But this watch has a GMT subdial, it has a MoonPhase, and it has the calendar. I feel like this watch is one of my sleeper watches because people who know Oris love Oris, and I'm one of those people, but not everybody knows about Oris. As you can see, open case back in the back, and gotta love the red rotor on an Oris. But I saw this watch, and it had a couple of different variations that I saw. And I don't know if anybody else was a fan of Oris when they did the rectangular series that had the more Frank Mueller Crazy Hours style numerals on the dial, and I was never really a big fan of that. And when I found this one, the dial pattern that the number track is on, with that being cut, and then with the subdials standing out with kind of that sunray pattern, and with Arabic numerals, I thought this was just a killer watch. And
Anytime that I have an excuse to wear this watch where I'm not going to be around water, I absolutely get this bad boy out. With this being more of a dress piece and definitely something that's a little bit more delicate, this doesn't get worn on a day-to-day like some of the other pieces do. All right, so last but not least is going to be the first watch that I started, the first watch that restarted my collection after I got sober. So I was following a bunch of watches, and I started watching a bunch of Teddy Baldessar videos, and then I started getting into a channel that will remain nameless, but they were talking poorly about Seiko mod watches. And I was like, what are we talking about here? If it's a Seiko case, a Seiko movement, and I can get a watch that has all the right parts, and it doesn't say, you know, Rolex or say Patek or say Audemars or any of the other mod style watches. Like if you look at this, obviously this looks like a, wow. This looks like a Rolex Yachtmaster. So it has a custom dark mother of pearl dial, white markers, has the Mercedes hands just like a Rolex would. I like that the fake 300 depth track, that I know that this watch, it wouldn't be good to 300 meters, but I like that the red accent on there matches the band. That was kind of what I was going for. And this is just your NH35 or NH34 standard Seiko mod movement. I spent about $200 on this watch. It came with a gray rubber strap that I replaced, obviously. But this watch doesn't keep great time. This watch does not get out of its box very often. But this was a watch that was the first time that I really started exploring more than just fashion watches or super discounted watches or Casios. This was my first step above kind of that realm of watches. And I didn't have very much money at the time. Like I said, I was just getting sober. I had medical bills stacked up, but I wanted something that commemorated that. And so it doesn't go with any of like my sober anniversary or anything like that. But this is the watch that restarted my watch collecting hobby after I got sober. So this will never leave. It sits in its own winder off to itself. And for that, it is going to always be one of my favorites, even though it is always going to be a fake Seiko watch. But guys, with that being said, that is the end of my collection. From here, I wanted to show some of the watches that were in my collection in the last couple of years and have left. So we'll be going on to some stills of some of those, and I'll walk you through some of those, and also some of the watches that I bought strictly for flips. So we'll get through some of those, but I hope you guys liked the live content looking at this, and we'll see you guys in the next shot.
You know what they say? If young Metro don't trust you, motherfucker, you better run.
All right, so moving on to old watches. This is a watch that I found at a strip mall. It is a Lord brand. I've never really seen it anywhere else. It has a perpetual calendar movement that doesn't work. It also has an open heartbeat that you can see that the layout kind of looks like a lot of Hodorology watches that you would find. The dial was spectacular. The hands look great. Got an aftermarket blue strap for it, but this is just a Miyota-based movement here. Onto a Belova Machina that I had for an extended period of time. This was a gift from an ex-girlfriend. This was a daily wear watch for about 4 or 5 years. Love the skeleton dial, integrated bracelet. This watch was ahead of its time for sure, just a little bit too big for me. Ended up selling this for a profit. Onto a Frederic Constant dress watch. So this was actually a two-handed quartz model. Two-handed quartz model I never really minded because you can't really tell the seconds don't tick away, but this was a nice little dress piece that I had for a short period of time and made a quick profit.
I'm the GOAT. The GOAT.
As I said, I gave this G-Shoch over to my friend, a couple of other G-Shocks that I still have, and onto a Mito Multifort DayDate. This had a beige dial, lovely bracelet. This watch ran fantastic, and got this watch for $200, sold it for about $4. Alright, so next up is a Hamilton Jazzmaster WorldTimer GMT Blackout Edition. This watch was a watch that I got off of an eBay seller. I had a great deal on it, got it for about $650. Ended up selling this watch for just under $1,000, but this was a great watch. Had it for about a year, maybe a little bit longer than that. Next up is another Hamilton flip that I had. This is the Navy Pioneer Chronograph. Absolutely beautiful blue hands, clean dial. Open case back on this watch. This was a watch that I boxed up and sold as a flip, so I had this watch for just a couple of months. Bought it for about $650 from a local seller here in St. Louis. Posted it on Chrono24 and had to take a couple of videos here. This is me showing the buyer that the chronograph function was still working, and I just love how clean the dial was on this watch. It was a little bit too big for my wrist though, so making a quick $400 or $500 in about a month and a half was a great deal for me. Next up is my Alpina C-Strong 300. This was a watch that I found on Facebook Marketplace. Ended up getting a really good deal on this. Got it for just over $400 from another local St. Louis seller. Bronze case, got the brown bezel ring there. Aftermarket black leather strap that I kept on this, and this was a daily wear piece that I had for a couple of years. Ended up making about $200 on the sell when I ended up listing it on Chrono24. Sold it for just over about $6 and some change after shipping, and I absolutely loved this watch for the time that I had it. Next up is my old Seiko 5. This was a watch that I picked up from another Facebook seller here in St. Louis. Had it originally on the mesh bracelet and then switched it over to a more IWC style nylon pilot strap. But this was a watch that, again, for $150, you can't really beat it. Ended up selling it for $150, so really no flat profit, but loved this watch. We'll definitely be getting another Seiko or Seiko 5 here soon. Quick peek at the hometown brand Monta Atlas GMT that I actually picked up from Clarkson Jewelers, and it was actually a gift to one of my good friends, Will Shoot Guns. You guys can go follow his gun page channel that we're working on together. Next up, we know what the Rolex crown looks like. We know what a date just looks like. This was actually a watch that I helped source for a member of a country club that I helped manage. This is a Datejust 41 with a green palm dial. I was paid to source this watch for him because he wanted to get a gift for himself, and we were actually looking at lining up a Distro Sprite for his son. And picking up on why you should always trust the dealer, don't trust Facebook Marketplace sellers all the time. This is a fake Breitling that I got tricked into buying for good money. Yeah, don't do that. Don't be like me. Don't get faked. Moving on to a little bit of logo design here. You can tell that's a Patek dial that I based my Instagram page's logo on. So 311, 314 watches on Instagram. Obviously, it's not that hard to see where I got the idea from. But there's the handle right there. And now on to some eye candy that I'm hoping to add to my collection soon. I love vintage Creedor watches, so I am heavily eyeing one of them here in the near future. Definitely love Baume & Mercier and the Riviera collection. This is the one that I like here with the big date. Baltic watches and Stern Glass, a couple of micro brands that I've been keeping an eye on and might pick up here in the near future. And Raymond Weil has been doing an absolutely killer job in the near recent past, and so between their different watches that they have available, I would love to pick up one of their watches. Guys, thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of the video. Please like, comment, share, subscribe if you're enjoying the content. If you like the collection video, please let me know down in the comments. And I'm looking forward to making some individual breakdown videos of all the different watches that I have in my collection. In the next coming days, I actually do have a new watch arriving soon, so looking forward to doing a new breakdown video and a new watch video for the channel. Also looking forward to upcoming conversations I'm going to be having with some friends of mine that have some great collections and a couple of heavier hitters than what I have in my collection at the moment. So if you're looking forward to some new watch content, definitely have something to look forward to there. Once again, guys, thank you so much, and we'll see you guys in the next video.